Mark Zuckerberg has decided to kill off the metaverse. There wasn't any big announcements and no funeral.
There have been plenty of recent examples of brands that are still pushing ahead with making virtual worlds and interacting with users in them, even though enthusiasm for the metaverse by some measures has died down.
Could Apple's Vision Pro headset be the push needed to take the metaverse mainstream? Joining us now is
Meta's Megan Fitzgerald told me as much.
And the metaverse is not going to be built by one company, that there are other companies, organizations, creators that maybe will use our avatars and allow people to move from one place to another while still feeling like themselves.
Unlike in more mainstream virtual worlds like Roblox and Fortnite, which are fully controlled by big gaming companies, platforms like Decentraland are built on cryptocurrency-style technology. In these crypto metaverses, everything is open and everything is for sale.
Welcome to the Money Panda, hosted by Elvis Kolawole.
The metaverse, the elusive virtual world that's captured so much attention thanks to you-know-who. I think we need a few more sound bites for some more context, so...
There's a land grab taking place online. People and companies are racing to plant their flags in the metaverse.
Facebook renamed itself to Meta to show their commitment to everything the metaverse represents, which is a virtual, interactive world that was supposed to be the future of shopping, socializing, working, and so much more.
Why do you think the metaverse didn't take off? Why was that a colossal failure?
Zuckerberg's version of the metaverse is that no one has legs. Like everyone looks like Nintendo Wii characters and stuff, and it's goofy.
The metaverse might have a pretty terrible reputation already, but let's try to take a step back, look at it objectively like a piece of tech, shall we?
Okay. That's enough sound bites for one day. To understand the true state of the metaverse, I invited my friend Denes Robert Fantasny, the man who is a serial builder of industrial metaverses. So let's get into it, shall we? Hello, everyone.
Okay.
You're watching the Money Panda, your podcast to cover everything in the world of Web 3.0 and the blockchain. And of course, every week I love bringing these great personalities. Today, I have this man, this absolutely wonderful man who absolutely loves the metaverse much more than I do, to be very frank. His name is Denes Robert Fantasny. I love to call him Fantasy in my head, but it's definitely Fantasny. I'm going to ruin his name. And Robert is a builder for metaverses, and he's here with me to talk about the metaverse and the future that it holds. So, real quick, Rob, I'd like you to introduce yourself and talk about what you do in the metaverse. So that people get to know you.
Okay, yeah. Hey, my name is Denes Robert. I'm from Germany, and I live here in Hanover. I'm 38 years old. I work for BizTech right now, as a freelancer. That company builds metaverses. Also, it's a metaverse platform, so very important to distinguish. And they're located in Austin. I'm here in Germany. I'm usually taking care of clients in the UK and Europe. So that is my position. I come from the social media field and also electrical engineering. That's why when we talk about metaverse, the industrial metaverse is like something that I'm really passionate about because it's closer to engineering than anything else. And I'm really excited to be here because we met in the 100 group. For people that don't know that, shout out to Zach Darris. He brings people together, and this is one of the proofs of that, and always love to connect with people inside that community because I see a lot of rising stars like yourself, and I really like the editing you do before you start the podcast. So I'm really curious what you're going to do with this one. So, hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you don't want to see that. I mean, in fact, some people are going to see this now, and the only hint I'm going to give you right now that somebody who is eventually going to watch this is going to see is the headlines that the metaverse is dead. We have to check that. We have to interrogate that.
It's dead. It's dead again. It happened again. Happened again.
It's dead for the 10th time. Yeah, so yeah, as you can tell, I have a great chemistry with Mr. Dennis here. Dennis is a very intelligent person, and of course, he's not just a person that builds. He's also like someone who is pretty serious about like forming relationships like within this industry that he's in, and he's also very serious about like providing value wherever he can, and that's why he's here, and I love that. And real quick, I think you did give a bit of a summary into what you do. You said you do serve clients in the UK and in Europe and for BizTech. And how has BizTech's work been? And how's your luck more or less been in the current environment, especially as regards clients, metaverse clients in Europe and and in the UK? Have there been any big wins, any big institutional players coming into the metaverse? Something like that.
Oh, so first of all, yeah, I cannot talk about all the clients because like most are mostly we're bound by NDA because you
Ooh,
can
okay.
see us like Squarespace, basically we're building websites for clients, and since these are not all consumer metaverses.
Yeah,
A lot of clients actually keep it, within the company. So
yeah.
we cannot talk about all of them, but mostly clients right now, they come from the US, the UK, and Latin America. And we've seen a big uptick in Q1 and Q2 of 2023. And of course, like everybody said, the metaverse was dead, and we didn't notice. It's like we saw the opposite. But hey, what do we know?
Yeah.
So it's funny. It's sometimes it's funny. Yeah, you see the exact opposite in the newspapers and online that you actually see for yourselves in real life. So clients actually inquire more information about this and build more than they've ever done before.
Absolutely. Okay. So last week I did a bit of a poll on LinkedIn, and I wanted people to have a take on the metaverse, and the vast majority of people said the metaverse is misunderstood. And I think I agree with that. I don't know if it's a question of, perhaps wrong narratives, or like the wrong people of in the forefront of people's minds. And perhaps I would say a lot of that probably stems from Facebook, because for most people in the mainstream, they first heard about the metaverse because of Meta turning into yeah, they first heard about it, especially like people, retail consumers, they first heard about it from Meta. So as we all know, definitely Meta's cutting like thousands from its workforce, and they are doing a lot of cuts, especially in their metaverse division. I think it's Horizon Labs, or what's its name? Horizon, I've forgotten. Horizon Worlds, sorry. Yeah, yeah, Horizon
Oh
World.
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, so now that it appears Facebook is making a bit of a withdrawal from the space, do you think it's dangerous? And do you think that's the reason for these narratives that are affecting, that I feel are really harmful to the industry? Narratives like metaverse is dead. Like, how do you see their withdrawal affecting the industry?
Oh yeah, 100%. That's the reason, because a lot of people actually think the metaverse is Meta. So the branding wise, they did a really good job. Everybody thought it's them,
Yeah,
and of course it's not, right? Like there is no the metaverse. First of all, like out there, to define that space would be really helpful for people that are listening in. So if you've ever been in a 3D environment in any video game simulation, that could be defined as a metaverse. And then you can be a stickler. You can say, hey, you need blockchain technology within the metaverse. So you can bring your own digital assets and log in and whatever, you can do with blockchain technology. And I would say there are so many definitions out there. Neither one is true. So to give you an example where we start and where we could go. So right now you could have like a really low visual environment, maybe Minecraft, maybe that kind of environment. And people have avatars in there, and they just meet, and that could be a metaverse. And then on the other side, you could have an environment that is not even built for people and avatars to roam in, and companies just put their really highly rendered CAD models in there, and then have AI run over it, and then iterate it, and then be better, and then maybe also use blockchain technology to say they've been doing it before everyone else, so they can prove the timestamps. So that is a really, really wide spectrum of metaverses, right? And then one is like really good looking, and they use Unreal Engine 5 or like technologies like that to make it really sharp and detailed. And the other one is just basically a bunch of blocks, running around like a Minecraft. So who are we to say what the metaverse is? Because the user is going to decide. We are so early in the process that we don't know yet. But we see a tendency to go towards better resolutions, because people play games already, and they're already used to a certain kind of quality, a visual quality and visual fidelity, to say the least. So yeah, that's about it. Metaverse, the term of metaverse, everything being connected, like you go from one internet page and you click a link and you go to the next, that is not happening in the metaverse. That's why it's not there. Nothing is interconnected and interoperable like we want to say yet. You cannot go from one to the other just yet. But let's see what happens in the next 5 or 7 years.
Okay. Yeah, speaking of interoperability, I actually interviewed someone not that long ago, and they spoke about making some of the assets interoperable for metaverses. I mean, apparently that's what they do, and I'm actually yet to test some of these things myself. I probably will, but then it's just I've heard other companies saying they could do exactly that, and it's not like it made headlines. And again, like now that you say this, that there's no real clear borders as to what a metaverse is or what the metaverse is. It feels like maybe a space that might need a bit of leadership. I don't know, or maybe it needs it needs to take control of the narratives out there, because like you said, anything it doesn't really take that much for something to be regarded as a metaverse. And I think, as I said before in the post, like the lines are kind of blurry between, hey, this is a 3D game, this is a virtual 3D game environment, and this is a metaverse. Like where do the lines get blurry? And you could say there were projects, like you said, that existed before that could be regarded as games. They could be regarded as MMORPG games, or just games with virtual spaces, and that's really what they were. But then they transitioned, maybe in branding or in language or something. They transitioned into being called metaverses, and it's a little confusing. So it's hard to like know where one thing stops and where the other begins, and try to like form informed opinion. So I feel maybe indeed this is one of the things that these organizations like the Metaverse Council, you heard of something like that. Yeah, could maybe have a look at.
Oh, I think Metaverse Fashion. You mean Metaverse Fashion Council, for example?
Yeah, or it could be that, or something like that. That probably speaks for a lot of the metaverses, or the projects that identify as metaverses. So yeah, it could be good to try to shape the narrative and have something more coherent that people can hold on to, so that we don't have like false narratives everywhere. So aside from that, I wanted to ask, is there any use case right now that you see the metaverse shoehorned into? Something that you feel, a metaverse might not necessarily belong. For example, truly, can you just say an MMORPG game that is very advanced can simply become a metaverse? Types,
Technically, it is right. Like it is already. So people use it. People meet up. Yeah, people meet up in there. I think Roblox is a good example for kids. That is not the visual fidelity you think of when you think of metaverse. So like always keep in mind, people have different visual fidelities in mind. Some people, when you say, hey, this is the latest technology in gaming, and the game you just talked about, basically, the kind of game that is usually in Unreal Engine 5, video games, MMO, like that kind of stuff. So that's what people think of. Some people, when you say, hey, this is the latest video game quality, they think of Candy Crush. So you never know what people think, because the term metaverse is not coined yet. Theoretically, if a company comes along, and builds like a huge one, and then everybody uses it, like they could have like 50% share of the whole users because it's so small. So right now, like that much. But to answer your question, that would be a good example actually of a metaverse, that people already use. But then again, they didn't talk to each other, and they didn't make up any rules. They didn't make up any standards. The standards come from basically what the visual environment can give them. So people build on Unity, or they build on Unreal Engine 5, which is the visual component of that game, and then they just make it happen. And then there's also, you have to take into consideration what kind of hardware do you need to actually run that kind of a game or environment. And then there could be different things, like hardware is like a restrictive thing right now. It's one of the bottlenecks. So if you don't have glasses that they're able to show your environment because they're not good enough, then it's a bottleneck. If those glasses cost $3,000, like they will supposedly do for Apple, hey, who's going to spend $3,000? Like, so your consumer base is like really small. Are you just going to use your screen and an internet connection that's maybe good enough to just stream stuff, like in the cloud? So that's what we do, because we think everybody should be able to participate in the metaverse. Most people don't even have a headset, and in 3 years or 2 years, it's probably going to be obsolete, like the early stages of cell phones or mobile phones. Basically everything, and also all the metaverses visually, everything that is built right now is basically a Nokia 3810 in 2 or 3 years, because it's so bad. Unless you build on the really good visuals, and then you have a little longer time frame that you can use that metaverse for. So it's a constantly evolving system. You cannot really say, hey, this is good or bad. You can say something is really bad, or maybe like goodish, right? Like there is no really good one yet. Like including ours. Like I would love to say, hey, this is the best one, but hey, no, we know where it's going, and then sometimes we have to live in the confinements of budgets. So it's also a topic, like companies, they don't want to spend, huge budgets on this. They want to experiment first, get some data in, and then iterate the next one, and then be better at it. And where companies use it, that was also one of your questions, is also different. Like I always say ICE. So there are different metaverses for different uses right now. And we are basically shoehorned in the consumer metaverse. So ICE means industrial, consumer, and enterprise. And industrial metaverse is pretty clear. They've been using it for years. Enterprise is basically where you use it to communicate within a given enterprise or structure within the company. And the consumer metaverse is basically what we see outside. So every time you hear Diego Borgo or somebody else talking about metaverses, it's usually the consumer metaverse. That's the one they can talk about it. If you build a lot of consumer metaverses, like, it's very likely that the NDA will not be that tight, so you can talk about it because the company actually wants you to talk about their metaverse. Makes sense, right? So if you build an industrial one or an enterprise one, they want to keep it tight. They want to keep it for themselves, so you cannot really talk about it. So we can talk in general terms, but not the companies. So
Yeah.
everything, is focused on this consumer metaverse right now. Like, hey, what can we do? Can I bring my avatars with me? Can I bring my fashion with me? Yeah, we talked about fashion and in the metaverse before, like on another call. And
Yeah.
I think that's actually something that people think of the metaverse being used for. And let me tell you this, like most of our clients, they don't even have any blockchain solutions in there. They don't ask for it. It's not important. Bringing your own avatar into another metaverse right now is not important. It will be in a few years, but right now nobody really cares. So that's the truth, and that's what we're shown. What we're shown outside is like, oh, you can bring your own NFT. And if you really think about it, who uses NFTs? It's a very, very small minority of people. And then who amongst those owning NFTs actually got an NFT that has an avatar inside or special clothing, whatever, that you can wear in the metaverse? That's also a very, very small subset of those people already owning NFTs. So it's maybe 10,000 people out there, that have digital assets they could use, versus like maybe millions of people that actually use the metaverse. So why would you build that kind of technology on top of your system if nobody's going to use it? It's like people screaming for Discord to become more Web3 friendly, but in general, it's just like less than 1% of the user base, so they won't do anything.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. It's just economics. But it's nice to talk about because you can show it off, right? Like you can show it easily, and people understand, oh, there's a store, H&M did a store or whatever, whatever company, or Skoda did a Skodaverse, and you can go in there. And that's nice to talk about, but it is in our hype cycle, basically, within the community. But if you look outside of the Web3 bubble, nobody really cares.
You put some perspective there that I like, because now it kind of makes sense to me. I think I said something in a video at some point where I was like, okay, we have to like reimagine, some of these technologies. For example, the metaverse, there really can be a version of the metaverse where NFTs don't exactly play a leading role. There can be a version of the metaverse where they are not exactly crucial to the functioning of the entire thing. Because like you said, like, why exactly will it be needed? Because there actually were virtual worlds, and it's not like NFTs were needed at the time to make even it's not like they were needed to make entire economies inside of the virtual worlds work. These worlds actually had in-game economies, and they didn't exactly need cryptocurrencies. They didn't exactly need NFTs. So why the need to shoehorn these things together? Like, it makes you question it. I mean, I think we both know some of the reasons why, but then it's just like, why is it that, okay, one person does this and then it becomes a trend for like, what, 10, 20, 30 other companies? And it's like, okay, we're all heard thinking this thing. But then, like you said, yes, Skoda does its thing, a high fashion brand does its thing, and then they add this feature. Then perhaps when they actually do some testing, they gather some data, it's like, what, 30 people holding NFTs are using them in the space. Yeah, and it's
I mean, so I think a lot of people actually listen to a few people only. So a few people just right now are building the space,
they're building the space.
So they're building the space because they're the ones everybody goes to, and they're not necessarily right, but you always have to see it this way. The consumer metaverse, that's only a small part of what the whole metaverse is. So basically, it will only consists like of 20, maybe 10% of what we see.
Mhm.
Right now, the internet and all its solutions, all the web pages and social media, that's only on top of everything else, what we use the internet for. So in this industrial, applications will always be bigger. But what we see is always the same, something on top of it. And NFTs, if you want to have an analogy, when the web started, there were no mobile apps. Like basically everything worked without mobile apps. Nobody needed a mobile app. And then the technology got better. People started using their smartphones, and then smartphones got better. And suddenly everybody uses mobile apps for everything, right?
Mhm.
And I think NFTs will be mobile apps, basically. You can see it coming. Okay, once people actually use it and once people actually get used to using it, they will say, oh, it makes sense. And companies will also want to have their customer base use NFTs just so they can see the login and they can see which wallet do you log in with. Then AI will basically scan the blockchain and give you an avatar as a consumer and say, okay, I can see which other projects you own, which other projects you've been part of, what other companies you basically like because you own their NFTs, and then I can give you an exact avatar of that person, and I know how to advertise toward that person. So that will be something that is really interesting, and we haven't solved the ethics side of that yet, because basically you are very, very see-through as a customer once you log in with any blockchain technology, because it's all on the blockchain, it's all readable and accessible for everyone. So there are no rules for that yet. For the gaming environment within itself, there are already rules because games already exist. So we are pretty sure the same rules will apply for how to treat data within those games. But data that you log in with and you voluntarily basically give, or involuntarily, because you have to log in with your token, which is an NFT, which is on the blockchain and which is readable by everyone. So how do you solve that? Privacy issues. Do you log in with your real names? Do you log in with your avatars? That's something that we're gonna have to deal with in the coming years. But right now, nobody talks about it because it's not important, because it's so early in the process. But we can see where technology is going, and we can make educated guesses because we saw the evolution of the internet before and what it enabled. And nobody saw social media coming, and social media is more important than anything else, right now. And it wasn't there when the internet started. So, hey, I think, NFTs and how we interact with each other and all the avatars we use, that will be the new social media. That will be a part of how we interact with each other online.
Wow, that's a bold prediction, but I've heard it here first. So you say this, and of course, lots of other people have said this. So I am going to hold you to that, and we'll see in 5 years. Yeah. So lastly, right before we go, do you have any one metaverse project you are kind of excited about? Something that makes you excited for the future of the space? Just one project you could point out that perhaps people are aware of?
I think most of the to be fair, I'm very biased. I work with Unreal Engine 5 environments, so they're like really high quality visually. And to be honest, everything I see out there is not Unreal Engine 5 based. A lot of companies have been building on other platforms, or let's say with worse visual fidelity. And as I said before, people have these tendencies to think, hey, I've seen this game, I've seen the quality of the visuals, and that's how I imagine the metaverse will be like. And then you see something that is not like that. And so people are really disappointed. There's a dissonance in there. I think I see no other projects that I'm really passionate about. It's like my passion lies in industrial metaverses. And I can give you an example. We're working with a company. They're building mining equipment, and to them, shutting off mining equipment, that is expensive, like for training purposes only, not for maintenance, just for training purposes. Like if you just shut it down for one day, it's in the 2-digit millions to just shut down the mining equipment. So to have an environment that is like visually really good, where you can see everything and where you can actually train your personnel, and the machine is still running, that's actually a cost you can calculate. So that is something I see, and that is like really cool to me. So if you ask me this question, it's totally different from what you would have expected. I cannot say, oh yeah, Coca-Cola is coming, or Porsche or whatever. That's not something that really interests me, because that's something everybody else talks about. And I think there are a lot of expert or so-called experts on consumer metaverses out there. And to be honest, that's the easy part, because those are the easiest to build. And you don't really need to be a genius. You just need to be, you have a good marketing department, you have some dollars to spend, and then you just build it. It's not solving a problem yet. And I think, I love to solve problems, and that's why I love industrial solutions a little more.
Yeah, I like this. I like this because that's a use case in which you can clearly see the millions of dollars like actually being saved. You can see it like right there, and of course I feel it could also like be as practical as something I saw the other day. I think Interpol trying to better understand how to like solve crimes, and having a metaverse where they simulate things and train people and stuff, and that's really cool. So I really love this, man. Thank you so much, Denes. I really loved your, what I say, almost, I won't say completely, but almost contrarian approach to this. I like this because because when we only hear these mainstream opinions, your head gets in a bubble, and then you have a flawed understanding of the scale at which like this thing really is. Like you said, the consumer metaverse is just like it's just like the top of the iceberg, right? And like if the iceberg is on the sea, like you only see the top of the iceberg, and you don't see that there's an entire thing like right under the sea, like just like how we're in social media and it's like the top. We've forgotten that there's a dark web. There's still an entire dark web, and that's still the internet too. People forget that that's still a huge part of the internet. And
exactly, yeah.
So yeah, I'm really grateful for this. I'm so glad. I think I have like a bit of better perspective now about where the metaverse actually is, as opposed to where people think it actually is, but where it actually is, and possibly where it could go in the future. So thank you so much for this perspective. And if you've been listening, this is Denes, a man who builds metaverses and especially who loves to onboard companies in Europe and the UK. Technically, UK is in Europe, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not in the EU anymore. Like if you ask people from England, it's always a dicey topic to them. They kind of look away ashamed.
About it, man.
yeah. Of course, like UK is Europe. They're like the inventors of Europe, so it's totally fine.
Absolutely. So I'm so grateful for this, and you've been listening. You too, you can be grateful for Denes Robert Fantasny. You can follow him on LinkedIn. You can follow him on his other social media. Oh yeah, and I actually found him on Instagram. He doesn't know that yet. I'm going to tell him after I finish this call. Yeah. And I'd love you all to listen to this. And I think I'm probably going to supply more materials on this topic going forward. Thank you for listening, and see you on the very next episode. Bye-bye, everyone.